Welcome to the Travel Ones podcast. Today, my guest is Dariann Leigh, an up-and-coming country singer-songwriter. How are you today, Dariann?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a little easier getting a hold of people that travel for work because they're not traveling for work right now.
Exactly.
You know, one thing we talked about earlier was, planning a move to Nashville is a big deal for you, and then it just kind of got pushed off. How's that looking?
Yeah.
Are you
It's
excited about
looking
going
good.
down there?
I'm really excited. I'm actually going back down in May. The original month for me to actually move was in February, and I just ended up deciding that it'd be better to just give it some time. And when the time is right, it'll happen, and obviously it'll be soon. So just figuring everything out and enjoying it, being in my hometown more, because it's really fun to release music and see their reactions rather than just hear about them.
And that's one thing I've been talking to a lot of my guests is, because comedians and even singers, they're doing a lot of things on Zoom and
Right.
Instagram Live and Facebook Live and all that, but it can't be the same
No.
as far as the feedback.
It's so fun doing the lives, but whenever I had shows this summer and whenever I do shows, I'm just instantly reminded how much, not that it's easier, but it's just like a much easier time too, to like have a really good time when it's actually in person. You can feel the vibe of a room, whereas when it's just you and your phone, it's just kind of what you can build in your bedroom or in your room in your house.
Exactly. It's just got to be a little surreal feeling.
It is. It makes you really appreciate the live performances and the opportunities that you have to play out for sure.
Me being the same way, for my day job, I travel over 100 days a year.
Right.
It was weird. Like, if you do that for a decade, all of a sudden you always go, wow, I wish I could stay home, or I wish I had some time off, or I wish I could get some things done around the house. Until you're forced to stay home and I painted the house, I redid the bathroom, I got the garage done, redid the office, all of a sudden it's like, God, I want to go back out on the road. My wife's like, okay, I've had enough of you. Get back out there.
Right. I relate to that. I think I've done every project for my family that they could ever dream of getting done over the summer and this past fall and winter, that now I think they realize that I'm just really looking for more to do, and we're just kind of scrounging for any project. I'm painting all the walls, doing all the things. Got everybody's to-do list done very fast this summer.
One thing you did that I thought was really cool and that you probably wouldn't have done in the normal world is your Christmas time vlog.
Yes.
So that was pretty cool how you got your fans you gave them kind of an inside look of what's going on a daily basis right before Christmas.
Yeah, it was really fun. It made the holidays, it brought a little bit of light to them during 25 days of Christmas. And then I also did a bunch of videos, and I'm still doing them. They're church sessions is what I call them, out at my grandparents out by where they live. They live out in the country, and they had donated land to form a little country church, and it's not used regularly anymore, but I was able to do videos and things out there for covers. It's been really cool, and I bring it back home a little bit.
So the question I have for you is, you're originally from Karlstad, Minnesota, correct?
Yes.
I mean, that's about as small of a town as it gets.
I think I've been told this once, that we qualify as a village because it is so small.
There you go. That's when you know you're in a small place.
Exactly.
Village of Karlstad.
Yeah.
How weird is it when you go to Nashville or Vegas or any of the other bigger cities? Was that just kind of a mind warp, or were you just kind of good with it?
I've been very lucky to travel a lot throughout my life, so it's kind of just normal for me, but it's always, the thing that always catches me is coming back home and driving into town and it being so much smaller, and you realize how small and how neat your community is, and how also just connected it is when you go from a big city where you literally don't know anybody into a small town where you literally know everything.
When I work at NFR in Vegas during the rodeo, I've met some of the people from small towns, and then they hear I'm from Los Angeles, and they're like, "What's it like?" I go, "I don't know. I mean, I have 12 million people around me. It is
right."
And they're from like, I talked to one kid who was from North Dakota, and he went to his school had 36 people from K through 12.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, they've got us beat by a landslide. I think there was under 200 K through 12 when I graduated, but I was one of 14 from my school that graduated my senior year.
For me, and even raising my daughters, I couldn't imagine, my daughter was, I think, one of 800
wow.
of her graduating class. So
that's cool. That's so cool, though. Like, coming from such a small town, that just sounds so cool. But at the same time, relating to you, I can't even imagine that.
It's just different, right?
Crazy.
A different vibe.
I love it. It is.
How much traveling pre-COVID? How much traveling were you doing for singing?
I was gone anywhere from nearly every week in a month to gone every week. I was traveling, doing anywhere from 3 to 5 shows a week, so very much all over. But I was really based mainly in Minnesota, North Dakota, Iowa, Wisconsin, and just getting down this past summer. I was supposed to be down in New Jersey and Florida and Washington, D.C., and hitting up all the areas I've been really trying to get to. So I'm excited that we were able to reschedule all of that so that way I could do all of that this summer rather than just miss it.
Do you go out with a band, or kind of setup are you going out with?
So I do solo shows. Most of the time it is with a band. I bring in my band from Nashville, or I've got my guys here in Minnesota that I bring out. It kind of just, we roll it based off of what's the show and availability, if we can make it work. Right. Get a good run out of it. So I'm looking forward to getting back with them all again, though, because it's been a while.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that I don't know that a lot of people understand is, just because Dariann Leigh's not working, that means all of the band people and everybody else. It's been tough on the entire industry.
Oh, for sure. It's affected a lot of people in so many different ways, and I think it's almost opened up people's eyes even more. But in some ways, of course, you're still going to miss things. But I think it's opened up people's eyes a lot to the different things that go into things like music, or just as simple as the grocery store in your town and things like that. It's really brought some eye-opening situations to life.
That's a great way to look at it too, because that's how I tend to look at things. Is we talked about earlier, you'll appreciate being able to travel more now.
Oh yeah, you definitely appreciate all the little things, being able to see your grandparents, your cousins, your brothers, whatever it might be. I've definitely grown to appreciate it all so much more. And I related to you when you said that you were wanting a break from vacationing. I was so excited to have 2 weeks where I could just sit at home and get all this work done. And then it just kept getting longer. And I was like, I'm not running out of work, but I'm running out of things to entertain myself with outside of it.
It's kind of weird when you think about it that way, huh? I was the same way.
It is.
Like, okay, that was great. Now what do I do?
Right. You can empty out your closet so many times before you realize you're just putting the same things back in again.
It gave my wife an excuse, because of my day job. My wife's like, no more jeans, no more shirts, no more boots. You're done. Cutting you off until you get rid of some. And I'm like, all right, but that's just a job hazard.
Oh yeah, you got to do the 2-year sessions is what I always call them. I love fashion. I love clothes. I'm all for it. So I typically do a thing where if I keep it and I don't wear it for 2 years, it's time for it to go.
For me, this was the first time in over a decade that I missed working at a bar. Yeah.
Right.
And when we worked at the rodeo, we get a top or a shirt for every day, so it's 10 days, and we get 5 pairs of jeans and a pair of boots. So
I love it.
Yeah, well, so after 10 years, that's a lot of shirts and a lot of jeans and a lot of boots. So,
yeah, it is.
All of a sudden, my wife's like, okay, enough of the blue jeans. It's like, all right. I'm like, but this one's different.
You just got to bring in, jeans are cool though, because then you can just bring in so many different washes. You can't beat that.
Yeah, I know, but after 50 pairs of jeans, what do you do? We're not women, we don't have, we're not doing the flare jeans and mid-rise and high-rise and low-rise and trousers and pixie cuts and boot cuts. Women got it made. I mean, you got so many to choose from.
We do. We have lots of options. It makes it very fun.
It makes it great for me and my job. It's never an end. Have you been to NFR yet?
I haven't, but I have friends that have gone and have really enjoyed it. I was in Vegas while the one rodeo down there was happening, and the whole time my dad and I were like, wow, it kind of feels like we're at home. These people are dressed exactly how people dress at home.
Yeah. It's bizarre, I'll tell you, because we go 4 days before the rodeo and to set up all the booths and all that. And it's regular Vegas for those 4 days. And then day one of NFR, everybody at the hotels, they change their clothing to match ours. and then all of a sudden, all the cowboys start showing up and you're like, oh, okay. And then it takes us 2 to 3 days to tear down. And literally the next day, the Monday after that, the final weekend, it's back to Vegas normal. It's so weird. It's surreal.
That's so funny. You brought the country to Vegas. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, all of a sudden you're hearing George Strait on the hotel sound system and all that, and then
right
the day after back to Skrillex or something, some dance music. Like, whoa, where'd I go? So.
Right. You brought country, and then they said it's time for you guys to wait till next year.
Exactly. Oh, I know for a fact that people of Las Vegas love the rodeo crowd. It's a good crowd. They spend money and they're friendly.
Exactly.
It'd be exciting for you you have to come out and check it out.
Yeah, I would just really love to. I've been to a few, and they've been so fun. And I think I brought my dad to one of his first ones that he had ever been to, and he left being like, "Wow, I missed out for so long. I really enjoyed it. So I definitely need to make it out for one. That'd be so fun."
Yeah, and then set up a signing. Do some signing
exactly.
or whatever.
That'd be fun.
Be a business trip.
Oh yeah, that'd be perfect. I sang the national anthem. I've sang it a few times, but at the rodeo, I think I've done it maybe a handful of times at rodeos. And the one that's up where I'm from, they do this very beautiful moment for our veterans, everybody who's served, and people in our lines of service and everything. And the guy was talking about it, and the national anthem is the one time where I get the most nervous to sing. I can get on stage and do whatever you want, sing hundreds of songs that I sang how many times before. You ask me to do the anthem, and my hand starts to shake when I'm holding the mic. I have to hold it with two hands sometimes. But he just kept going on this beautiful monologue that he had written. And the more he talked, the more I was like, I think my legs are literally shaking at this point.
I was just going to ask you, because you're the only person I've ever known that sung the national anthem. That's got to be just, like you said, it's got to be a little more nervous. I mean, because like your songs, it's whatever, right? You sung them.
Right.
And you have a band, or even if you're solo, but still, the national anthem when everybody's watching you.
Exactly. And everybody knows if you miss a beat or you miss a word or anything like that. Most of the time I have to give myself a good pep talk before I go out. And I always play my starting note in my ear right before I sing, so that way I'm ready. I've done it at hockey games, baseball games, basketball, volleyball, rodeo, wherever I've sang it, you name it. And every time I have to go through the same process in my head of the pep talk, playing the note,
yeah,
running through the lyrics in my head, and then just doing it. Because at some point, it's about just taking the moment to honor. Because for me, it's important to make sure that I don't own the national anthem myself, that it belongs to everybody here, and that it's more than just me singing the song in the moment. It's about all those who have served and all those who are currently serving and have lost their lives serving. And it stands for our country and our freedom. And for me, it just means a lot to be asked to do it. And I just want to do it right. That's always my goal. So I run through my process of things, tell myself I'm good, then I start.
Have you botched one yet?
I haven't. I'm hoping that I don't.
Yeah.
There's been certain times, as a singer, and I'm quite a perfectionist. I've been my entire life. You walk away and it wasn't your best one. And sometimes where instead of belts, I'll do a higher, softer voice. And sometimes I think it's easy to psych yourself out. But I honestly, I can sing our anthem, the Canadian anthem, anytime, any place. And I know that I can be rock solid if I follow my same process every time.
That's kind of cool that you can switch it up, though, as far as, if you're not feeling right. That's one thing I talked to some of the singers about, and I was going to ask you is, when you're on the road and you're traveling, like for me, if I get sick, I can suck it up for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours while I go see my client, and then go back to the hotel and crash. Whereas you and anybody that sings, how do you get around if you're not feeling good and you got to go up and just nail it? Is there ways you can bring it down and change your singing?
Yeah, I've done it a few times. Not always. I mean, you go up and, when you're not feeling good, your entire body is ready to sleep, and you have to wake it up to kind of start a party. And for me, it's always just been grab some Ricola cough drops, some hot water. I always sing with hot water, and just get up. And if you need to change the keys of the song, change the keys of the song, do it your best. And most of the time I've found that once I start singing and I start getting into it, I don't notice that I might not be feeling well anymore. It typically always makes me feel better as soon as I start singing if I wasn't on. And just keeping up with the cough drops and a break and the hot water, it seems to really do me well. It seems to tie me over so that I can put on the show and then get my rest in.
What's the secret behind the hot water?
I always felt like cold water made my throat feel like it was, not that it was frozen, but that it just wasn't ready to sing up and down and high notes and everything. I'm not sure if it's really like a scientific thing, but I've always just felt like the hot water it hits in the right way.
I asked my second guest on the show was Cowboy Troy, and
Oh, cool.
Because we sponsored him for a decade, and he and I are friends now. I asked him right before I started doing this. I'm like, hey, what, because I was nervous, and my first 10 guests were all my friends and people I knew, but I was still nervous for the process of it.
Right.
And so I called Troy up before my first episode, which was with Hunter Cure, who's a 2-time world champ steer wrestler, and I've known him for a decade. So I was just like, but I was still nervous. Anyways, Troy said, make sure it's at least warm water. He didn't say hot water, but he said at least warm water. He said, don't do cold water because it'll constrict your vocal cords.
Exactly. My thing is, as soon as I run out of the hot water, it's like a little bit of a panic moment for me. I have to figure out how I can get warm water. So I always come with like little Yetis and Under Armour Turvises, you name it, with just warm, hot water. So that way, if I need to cool it down, I can put a little cold water in and I'm ready to roll.
I like that. I don't know if I'd try that. I always have warm water with me now, but I might try the hot water.
It's almost trained me to very rarely, strangely enough, drink anything cold. And it's weird because I'll go to a friend's house, or it's to the point where all my friends and my family know that they don't even have to ask me if I want anything iced. They just know that I literally will take it room temperature or hot, which is very strange, but that's just what works.
Well, like I said, I mean, if your throat doesn't work and your voice doesn't work, you're not working.
Exactly.
That's got to be a little, I don't know, that'd be interesting. I don't know if I could, I guess it is what it is.
It is. You just make it work.
Yeah. Have you ever had issues on the road where your throat's gone?
Thankfully, I took vocal lessons for years leading up to now. And so that helped me a lot with being able to distinguish when and how to hit certain notes. And, you think you need to dodge it this night, go for it. Don't oversing, stuff like that, making sure I warm up. So that's helped me a lot. But I'm sure it'll maybe happen at some point. I just hope that I take enough care of my voice to not have to experience it.
You've been singing since you were a baby, basically.
Yes.
So, I mean, you got the experience going on there. When you travel and you set up shows, do you set up extra time in the cities to go see to see the nightlife or to see the museums or see, what's going on in the city? Or is it just, I got to get in, do my show, and then leave?
It depends on the schedule. Sometimes I'm able to go and check things out. Like on a radio tour, most of the time it's just up at 3 a.m., catch your first interview, and then maybe you'll have a show later that afternoon. You're meeting other people throughout the day. So most of the time, there's really, unfortunately, not a lot of time to see sites and things like that. But there have been the times where I've gone further. And the plans in the future has been to kind of be able to have a little bit more time to check things out and see all the cool things.
I can only recommend you to do that because the first couple of years that I was traveling a lot, I'd come home and I'd be like, oh, I went up to Portland, or I went to Louisville. The first time I went to Louisville was for the farm machinery show. And I come home and my daughters and everyone's like, oh, what did you see there? And I'm like, the hotel, I worked 7 straight days. That was, and they're like, my friends are like, oh, you didn't go to the bat museum? And I'm like, oh, that's right. They make bats there. So I went back for the FFA show or NAIL, North American Livestock Expo. I took the time I went to the Louisville Bat Company. I went to the Muhammad Ali Museum. I went to the riverboat.
Wow.
Because I was like, man, if I don't do this, it's like we opened up a store in Dickinson, North Dakota, which is the
there you go.
western side of North Dakota. I flew into Bismarck because that's about all you can do.
Right.
And I was going to go over to Dickinson, and I'm like, you know what? I've never been to Rapid City. I've never seen Mount Rushmore.
There you go.
And I took the extra day and caught the Mount Rushmore and Sturgis and all that, and then still got my work done.
That's perfect. I love that. We're definitely making sure that we're able to do that now. Most of the time, it's just so get up and go, which for sure.
Yeah.
It's crazy because you get to experience so much, but sometimes you miss out on things too. But it's fun when you're able to catch things and see all the views because I'm definitely an adventurer at heart. So I always love being able to check things out.
Well, you'll go to Nashville and you'll hit certain cities a lot, but then there's going to be you go to that you go. I'm pretty confident I'll never go back to Dickinson, North Dakota. I mean, I don't foresee it unless the store burns down and we have to build up a new one. But
right.
So I wanted to make sure, I go to Denver 4 times a year, or I used to pre-COVID. But so I've seen all the things around there. But
Right.
I don't know. Like if I was to go to Karlstad, Minnesota, I definitely want to check things out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's weird because when you grow up somewhere, you're like, where can you show people around? And then you literally just walk by something and you explain the gas station. They do self-service, or it's not self-service. They will serve you. They will pump your gas for you,
Yeah.
wipe your windshield, whatever. And it's the reactions of people that have never experienced that before is also very funny. So sometimes, as much as I'd love to warn people that that happens, I do also enjoy seeing the reaction of them noticing that someone else is coming to pump their gas and they're very confused and they look shocked. And I always know the people that work here, and so we just kind of look at each other and we're like,
Yeah.
oh, they're new here.
That was my second job. That's how old I am.
I love that.
We're working at a full service gas station.
It's funny because growing up, I didn't even realize that. Obviously, I knew that other places didn't do it, but it was so strange to me that other people hadn't experienced it because I was so used to it.
Oregon is still like that. Oregon, it's a state law. I think they just changed it, but it was a state law. And I took my daughter up to college up there. You're not allowed to pump your gas.
Wow.
Like they will come out and say, please stop what you're doing and go back in your car. And I'm like, wow, okay. Because I knew that was a law, but I was like,
right.
Okay. They're like, no, we got this. I'm like, wow, okay. But
heck yeah, I mean, if you don't have to stand outside if it's cold or anything, I'm always game.
It's so weird to me because, like I said, it was just something I've done since I was a kid. That's, when I was a kid, my dad would say, hey, go pump my gas. I'm like, all right. So, I was like, if you want to ride to football practice, go pump the gas.
Right.
That's what you do. Well, I'm stoked to hear that you're into checking things out because I would imagine, younger artists can be about, just the nightlife, the party, and then just go on. But I think in the years you'll appreciate the things you've seen a little bit more.
Yeah, I think so too. I've always been kind of an old soul at heart, and so I've always just been very into the adventure and the experiences and catching moments. And I think you experience things in life that also just kind of takes you back a second to realize that life's pretty short and you have to appreciate the opportunities that you have. And so I'd rather just say that I lived and adventured than just lived and didn't adventure.
My next question would be, the name of my podcast is The Travel Wins. And I came up with that name because for me, like I'm a sales rep. And so I used to base all my successes, whether or not I sold a lot. And it was, that puts the pressure on. And so now when I travel, I always try to find different things that can make a win, whether it's I didn't get into an accident or I saw an accident that I could have been in and I avoided it, or which just happened.
Exactly.
I'll stop and take a picture of a tree that, or the ocean or whatever, For me, that just makes it so if I do have a bad day at sales, it doesn't ruin my entire day.
Exactly. I love that.
So how do you set up your wins? I mean, is it just having a good show? Is it, I don't know.
For me, I've always tried to make sure I grew up playing sports and being in actually some singing competitions and theater competitions. I was involved in so many different things. And I realized so much through team sports that it's always about the little celebrations too. You play volleyball, you spike before the 3-foot line. That's awesome. That's crazy. It's so cool. And so I think that helped me a lot in bringing it into music as well, and being able to celebrate. Even some days it's just being realistic. It's a thing to make your bed in the morning. That's something to be happy about. It made your day. And for me, the easiest way to make me the most happy is just some good ice cream. I'm pretty simple. So ice cream can make my day. But I think just about anything, a good show, having a little kid be super cute. I always enjoy the kids at shows, and just meeting people that you've never met before and hearing about their lives after shows and things like that. I love all of that. It's so cool to meet people in different places and forms of life in different locations. I don't know. I just love it all.
What place would you like to travel to that you haven't yet? Like, what's the bucket list?
Ooh, my bucket list is never ending.
Yeah, I know.
But
I have the same problem.
For me, I'm a sucker for any location with an ocean. I've been to Hawaii, but I'd really love to go to I'm very into Shakespearean things. And so going over to Greece and the United Kingdom, the UK, all of that to me sounds very interesting and fun too. So I'm any adventure I can go on, I am completely game for.
Just got to figure out how you can set up a gig over there.
Exactly.
That's what I was telling you with NFR. You can bring your dad out, do a signing or whatever. You don't even have to sing.
Exactly. That's what's cool about singing, though, is if I want to go someplace, I can just hit up my booking manager and we can really get into some places. We both look up places, locations, and we find where we'd be best suited and what we can do. And it makes it really fun, though, because the different opportunities that you can have in the places that you can see that are like listers that you've always wanted to go, you get the chance to go to, which I know is such an awesome thing because many people don't always leave even their hometowns. And so I'm grateful to be able to do that with my career.
Well, that's interesting because I live in Los Angeles. I've lived here 40 years. And I know I take it for granted. When my family comes in town, my aunt from Ohio, the first thing she says is, take me to the ocean. What? She goes, take me to the ocean. We can go wherever you need to go afterwards, but just take me to the ocean. I take her there. She walks out on the sand, touches the water, and gets back in the car, and we're good to go.
I love it.
That's her little requirement. So, I live here, and I always told my daughters growing up, I said, look, you live in a place where people come to visit.
Right.
So don't take it for granted. But one of the things that was cool is, like, made me think about was when you were talking about how when people come to town, you want to show them around. I did the same thing. And I realized I didn't know that much about it, because when you live here, you just kind of, that's the Hollywood sign. There's Sunset Boulevard, blah, blah. And
right.
My daughter, right before she went to college back in Maryland, I said, what do you want to do? She goes, I want to take the Hollywood tour, the bus tour. I'm like, oh, my God, the most touristy thing you could do. I'm like, but okay. And we did it, and it was so awesome because all of a sudden now when my friends come out, like Cowboy Troy was out here in January. I think it was January. He was doing a video shoot, and he calls me up, and I gave him the tour. He goes, man, I never get to see all this stuff because he travels with Big and Rich a lot. And
right.
And he's like, we usually just come in, go to the hotel, do the show, go back to the airport, and fly home. So I drove him around and showed him all the stuff. The Sunset Boulevard. And so now I'm the official Hollywood tour guide for all my friends and family.
I love it. If I come out there, I'll have to hit you up.
Absolutely. Have you been out to Los Angeles for gigs yet?
I haven't been for gigs, but I drove through when I was a kid. And I remember it, but very vaguely. I've landed, I think, there once actually as a layover when we went to Hawaii when I was a kid. But never more than just a quick drive through and a layover, but I'm hoping to make it up there for a show.
That'd be awesome. I mean, well, there's so many venues you could potentially hit up. I mean, Zach Brown sells out here. I mean, that's how many people we have.
I love it.
I mean,
that's awesome.
Yeah, people are always like, "Oh, country doesn't play here." I go, "Man, Zach, he sells out the Hollywood Bowl." I saw Sugarland at the Hollywood Bowl. So
wow,
there's a lot of people.
Country music is everywhere. There's no location where it isn't, I've found.
Totally agree. Scotland has a good country group, which surprised me. We talked to some people from Scotland that at NFR. Like they flew to Scotland just to go to NFR. I was like,
that's awesome.
Wait till you hear that accent.
Right.
I thought they were speaking.
And I always think that, oh yeah, it's like a complete different accent and different enunciations of tones. My friends and I always joke when I'm in Nashville when we write songs. I think we spent probably a total of 20 minutes just comparing words. And cause, I mean, Nashville is kind of becoming a location with many people from many different areas. And we were just comparing our different accents, and mine being the northern, nearly Canadian here up as far north as I am. And we got stuck on the way that I pronounced the word bag. And it was just them trying to tell me how to say it in their words the right way, and me trying to correct how I'm saying it. I can change the way I say anything, but the way I say bag, I can't change it. The accent is thick on that one.
You don't have too much of the Dakota accent, though.
No, I always joke that from up here, like my great uncle, when his accent is very much north and south, so very much like lower Canada, like the stereotype that people would give them, and very Minnesotan. But I always been told that I sound like I'm a Minnesotan that went really country, and so I sound a little bit in between there.
Yeah, you don't have the Dakota twang.
No, the long O's. Not too much.
No, yeah, you're right. Long O's.
Every once in a while, though, I'll catch myself saying something, and I'm like, oh, where I'm from really shows here.
It's amazing because we went to Nashville right before Christmas just for a vacation to get out where we could actually go places. California was locked down. But you start picking up twangs really easy.
Oh,
And
yeah.
dialects.
The y'alls and everything. Up here, everybody always says all of you, or different ways of that, you all. And I'm the one that says y'all all the time. So I sometimes stand out a lot because I have very much picked up Southern slang and words and things like that.
That's a good one, though. That's a good one to have.
I know. It's a good word. It's a quality word to add to your book of things that you say often.
Well, especially if you're going to live in Nashville, you'll fit,
Exactly. You fit right in.
Is moving to Nashville because of Broadway and gigs? Is it the record companies? What songwriters? I mean, is it just all that?
For me, it's a multitude of things. I've always wanted to. It's kind of just been a goal. It's the home of country music, and
Sure.
to be around all the songwriters and the singers, all of that. I feel like when you're around creative people, you just become more creative yourself, and you just foster everything that you're surrounding yourself in. And all of my friends at this point are pretty much from Nashville, and all the artists I know are there, and the people I work with are in Nashville. And for me, it's just a multitude of just opportunity and where it feels like home, and Nashville really does for me. And so I'm looking forward to getting back there in May and to moving as well.
So here's my question. Have you worked on Broadway yet?
I have sang off of Broadway, but I've never sang exactly right on Broadway yet.
So here's my question. My wife and I had been there before. I opened up the store in Chattanooga and all that, but this was our 1st time really vacationing there.
Right.
How difficult is it to sing on that street? I mean, I always tell, when I come home now, and they're like, what's it like? And I go, imagine a bar that's 3 levels tall and a live band on every level.
It is.
And imagine at 10:30 in the morning, that live bands you can hear them from your hotel room. They're already going. And I go, so there's a lot of opportunities, but there's got to be a lot of people wanting to take up those opportunities.
Oh, absolutely. There's always an audition process and things like that to get into different places on Broadway, and different connections and things can come into hand. I haven't, obviously not living there, I haven't done any of that, but I know some people that sing down there and they enjoy it a lot. They have a really good time.
I don't know how you couldn't. I mean, if you want to be a singer, a country singer, you kind of got to at least experience that, I would think.
Exactly.
Have you gone?
I just love. Go ahead.
No, you say.
I just love the rounds in Nashville, the writers' rounds and that type of thing. I've been a part of a few of them, and every time I get to do them, they're some of my favorite shows.
I was going to ask you, have you been over to the Grand Ole Opry yet?
I have toured it once, and I've been to 2 different nights of shows. But when I was there and I toured it, they always give people the opportunity to step in the circle, and I was the only one in our group that didn't. And the one guy that was kind of letting you onto stage, he looked at me and he said, I think I know why you didn't. I said, sir, you probably do. And he said, are you a musician? I said, yes, I am. He said, I'm going to ask you, what's the reason not to? And I said, I don't want to stand in it unless I've been invited. And so for me, it's that stage is my dream stage, my dream venue, my dream everything. That's my goal personally. And it was really cool to even be on the stage, but in the circle, I couldn't. It was like there's a line in my brain that just wouldn't allow me to step over it. And so hopefully one day I'll make it and be able to step into that circle. I look forward to that a lot. That's been my dream since I was a little girl.
See, with me having zero ability to be able to ever sing and be invited into that circle, I stood in there proudly.
My dad and my grandparents and all of my family also joke that they've stepped in and I haven't.
Exactly. I was like, I have no problem because we just did the backstage tour actually on our last day there, and
it's so fun.
Oh, it was cool. I had zero problem staying in that circle. I'm like, there's no chance on this earth of me ever being invited to sing on that show.
I stared at it. I gave it a good stare. I said, I will stand here. We'll meet again. And my parents took a photo in it, and everybody stepped in it, and I just kind of just waiting for the time. You know, I want it to be the first time, the official first time.
See, you should have taken a picture. Now you're gonna kick yourself, like an Instagram photo of almost stepping in it.
I do.
Oh, okay.
I'm already ahead of you.
That way you can have that up there going, not quite.
I can, but I can't. I will, but I won't.
So, anywhere overseas, Europe, you'd be good with singing. You know what? I would think country music would be bigger in Australia.
Oh, yeah, it is. I've done a few interviews with folks in Australia, and it's always so fun.
So you got to get a show there.
I do. I would love that.
That's a long flight.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes the flight is what catches you, but for me, if I got to sit for however many hours to see something cool, I'll do it.
How do you fill up your downtime? Like when you're traveling to the next show? I mean, are you listening to new music? Are you writing songs? Are you watching movies? How do you fill up that time?
Most of the time, it's writing songs, answering emails, doing all the businessy things to the side of music, and always finding a little moment to binge watch something on Netflix. It was funny at the beginning of quarantine, though, I hadn't had the chance to really, truly do what you would call an accurate binge watch, where you literally watch in one consecutive amount of time since high school. And being able to, I was like, wow, I just got to binge watch an entire show today. Yeah. And my friends were like, you haven't done that? I was like, no, I don't have time to binge watch a show. And now I've binge watched more than a few shows, and I'm to the point where I wouldn't mind if I wasn't able to binge watch anything anymore.
And we're the same way. My wife and I were like, hey, let's watch this. We haven't watched this show since we were kids. We're like, okay.
Exactly.
All done. It's like
it's so fun while you're experiencing it, though, and then it ends, and you just have to wait for another season.
Well, even like for me, I like watching. I don't know if you watch it, but like The Voice. I don't like American Idol too much, but I like The Voice, and I like. There was another songwriting show that came out, but
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yes, yeah.
So Ryan Tedder is one of the judges.
Yeah, I love all of those shows. I could watch those any day.
But watching them on streaming, no commercials, is so good.
Oh, I know. You can all those subscriptions where you don't have to watch commercials or anything.
Yeah.
It makes you not even want to watch anything with commercials sometimes.
I couldn't agree more. It's like, save 15 minutes of my life.
Exactly.
Well, I know you have your single that just came out, Let Me Go. What is that song about, and are you going to be able to tour any for it?
I wrote Let Me Go last February, actually, before our world stopped turning a little bit, with Emily Fortney and Sky Claire. They had written Wherever I Go for me that I released last year. And so it was really fun to sit down and write with them and kind of experience them writing, because there's something about a room full of women writing a song. And for me, it's one of my favorite things. And I just love any opportunity I get to write. And when we came out of this write, we went upstairs and showed it to my producer, and he's like, this is what we're recording. This is your song. This is what we were looking for. This is what's happening. And we really just, in the room, we were able to get this vibe going between us three, where we were just talking about previous relationships and even bring it to friendships, whether it be with a significant other or just a really good friend, whatever it might be, and situations that you didn't like, and different things where you're just like, oh, I want to move on to the next period of my life, and how sometimes you just want to go and go and go, and you're looking so forward. And we came up with Let Me Go for the chorus, and it really just screamed from the moment that we started writing it that this was something that needed to be released, and it needed to be a moment. And we've been so excited for it, and having it out is so surreal for me after holding on to it for a year with masters and everything in hand, being able to say, now it's yours. You get to hear this thing I've been talking about for so long. It's really awesome.
That's a great country title.
Thank you.
It's like, Let Me Go. Are you going to, do you have a video plan for it?
I do. I'm not sure any dates on it, but I do have something coming with that.
Nice. Well, I'm sure your fans will be glad to see another video. I like the Wherever I Go video.
Thank you.
Was that in Vegas?
Yes, we actually filmed the office scenes at my cousin's business that they own, Pool Tex, in Vegas.
Oh,
and then the rest of it was actually primarily in Henderson over there, and obviously like the deserty driving scenes. I think a lot of the times you forget that Vegas isn't just the strip with all the hotels and everything, that you can go out and it's just really beautiful scenery. So we had a really good time with that video.
My wife lived in Henderson for 20 years. Her parents still live there.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love it.
It is a little weird going to Vegas and not going on the strip at all.
Right.
Now we go there, like, when I'm there for NFR, I sleep on the strip for 16 straight days, and it's like, oh.
Right.
But yeah, when you get outside of it, you're like, oh, it's not too bad.
No. It brings the city into like a more rural setting really quickly.
Yeah, and drive a half hour in any direction, and you're in the middle of the desert.
Exactly.
It's a cool place to visit, though. So do you have any shows coming up, do you know of, over the summer? Or
I have some shows booked now. I've also got a few in the works that I'm looking forward to. I have a lot of shows around lakes, which is something that I'm very excited about, and different opportunities there because I'm always on the lake if I can be. I mean, Minnesota's got so many lakes, it's hard to not be on one. So I'm looking forward to a summer with shows. It might be different than still what artists like myself would call normal, but I'm looking forward to getting back on stage for sure.
Well, and that's the whole key, just getting back out and start doing it again.
Exactly.
And get as much press as you can.
Right. Doing our thing, back at it again.
I hear you. Well, what's the best way for my listeners to follow up with you and follow you, see what you have going on? Where do you like them to go to?
Yeah, you can look me up on any social media platform. I've got them all. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. What else we got? We got TikTok, Twitter, all of them. It's just at Dariann Leigh. And also on my website, dariannleigh.com, you can find all of the links to that as well as all of my music. But that's also on all streaming platforms as well.
Yeah, and Spotify's got all your stuff on there too as well.
Yes, Spotify, iTunes, you name it, it's there.
You're out there. You got it.
I am.
Well, thank you so much for sharing some time with me today. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
And if you ever make it out to NFR, track me down and maybe we'll get you some boots or get you some stuff.
Oh, I'll absolutely do that.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks again for your time, Dariann.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, talk to you soon.
Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.